Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this episode we're not going to work on any cars. You might have seen my previous episodes on the Konig race car, where we have completely rebuilt that car from the suspension, the brakes, the engine. In fact, the whole car was kind of rebuilt. You've seen also the alignment, the camber, the toe, the caster. All these things are now sorted out, and now it's time to take that car for a shakedown to the track. Now, initially I planned to participate in a race from day one. However, I don't think the car is ready for that because I haven't tested anything out really. I haven't had the opportunity. There's no race track nearby to me. So I will have to join the track day, and there is a club called the Crack Club, and it's not the kind of crack that you might think it is, but it's C-R-A-C, and it's a club of enthusiasts of open-wheeled race cars, at least 20 years old, and that of course fits perfectly to my Konig race car. And they have arranged a track day in Mitte, which is a Belgian race circuit in the French-speaking part of Belgium. It is not really a very large track, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of nice curves. There will be 4 sessions of half an hour each, and for me that's the right opportunity to test out the Konig race car, because after all, the brakes are not running yet, so the first half an hour is going to be for me breaking in the brakes, making sure that the steering feels right, both in the curves and on the straight line, that the tracking is good. And if not, then we'll adjust it after that first half an hour session. And then on the second session, I probably can drive a bit faster, with all the adjustments. And then after that, we'll come back and we'll readjust wherever is going to be necessary to readjust things. This is what happens on these track days. You keep adjusting until the touch and feel of the car is exactly what you want to have it. Because doing adjustments in a workshop are great, but that's just the baseline. You need to tune it still to the track you're driving on. So, I think by the evening of the 28th of August, so the last session will run, that will probably be quite all right, and hopefully I can keep up with all the other people. Now, before going there's a couple of things I still need to do. And I know that you have not seen a video in the last 2 weeks, but that's just because I've been fairly busy with building a cover on my trailer, because I don't want to have the race car in the rain, because Belgium is very well known for its rain. So driving about 300 kilometers to the racetrack in the rain is not a lot of fun, and then your car is all wet, and then really you don't want that to happen. So that's why I created a cover on my trailer, and I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. And then I'm going to take you through some other points that I've been doing on the race car just to get it ready. And we'll talk a little bit about the kit that I'm going to use, because if you're getting on a racetrack, you have to make sure that you have the correct protective gear. And after that, well, then you will have to wait until the 28th of August, and then you will see me actually driving that Konig race car on the track. So let's have a look on the trailer. And here is that trailer, and as you can see, I have built a big box on top of it with metal panels that are coated, and now I can drive the car actually inside, which is providing a pretty good protection for the race car. What I really like about this trailer is that it actually tilts, as you can see, and that makes it easy to drive the race car onto it, because otherwise, if you have to use ramps, I have seen that the bottom of the race car is actually scraping on the ground. And now I can just drive the race car inside. The slope is not too bad. It's probably around, I would think, about 30 degrees, but it's perfect, and it's very easy to drive it in. In fact, if you don't want to drive it in, you also have a winch, so it works both ways. The covered area is 4 meters by 1 meter 85 and 1 meter 22 high. And that's more than high enough for me, because the higher it is, the more wind resistance you have when you pull it with your car. I put in about 165 meters of steel tubes, and these steel tubes are 30 by 40 millimeters and 2 millimeters thick. And then I installed on the outer side galvanized panels that are coated with a special paint. All by all, this was not very expensive, and now I think this looks quite all right. The panels are bolted down with about 200 self-tapping bolts, and that went fairly smoothly. I spent about 3 days on building this, and yeah, now it's kind of ready to be used. So if you wonder about the extra weight you have, because some people were wondering, I've added up about 200 kilograms roughly of weight to the trailer. Now the trailer itself is rated for 2,500, 3,000 kilograms for cars to put on there. So this is no issue because my race car is only about 405 kilograms. So that little bit of extra weight, it's not an issue whatsoever. So now let's have a look on the race car itself and some of the kit we're going to need. So meanwhile, I prepared the race car so it's ready to get onto the track, and that is of course checking all the liquids but also the brakes, and I took extra measurements on the brakes to make sure that they were actually completely free of air so that the brake pedal feels like a rock. Now in terms of gasoline, I filled up the gas tank until it's completely full because I have no idea what the volume of the gas tank is. And since the first session is like a half an hour drive, I will be able after that session to fill up the tank again to the top level and see how much I have put in. So then I know more or less on how much gas this engine is using. And of course I've been pressure bleeding the brake system both in the front and in the back. And that way I have a rock solid brake pedal. And I topped up both the front and the rear brake fluids, but also the clutch. And I do go around the car, and every time I did check, and every time I have checked the bolt, I put a white marking up. And that way it's a very quick visual inspection after every session that everything is still lined up properly. Like in this case here, I know I have no marking on it, so I haven't checked that nut here, and guess what? It is loose. This is the kind of thing you don't want to have. So in essence, every bolt should be locked and double checked before every session. It doesn't take very long to check this, and it's really your safety. So I had forgotten this one. I also verified that the chain has the right tension on it, and that is looking quite good. I might have to adjust this on the track after the first session because this is a new chain. And I'm checking the oil level, and there's an hourglass where my light is, so I can actually see how much oil we have in the engine, and that is looking quite good. And of course we need to check the cooling liquid, and that looks like it's full. In fact, a lot of very basic checks that you should do after every race we do. If you look to this grid, you will see the spill tank there, and that is having a tube on the side. And I'm just checking to see if that one is empty, and if not, then we'll empty that spill tank. And there on the left-hand side, you see that little tube on the spill tank, and as you can see, that is empty. Most race cars on track don't have an alternator because that takes power away, so they are running on a very small battery typically. And they have an 8 battery on the outside, so you plug that in to start it up, and the small battery inside the car is only to keep the ignition going and some vital elements, but it's not really to crank up the engine. Well, you probably can do it 3 times or so and then the battery is empty. Now this car is of course not having a standard engine in it. It has a motorcycle engine, and the generator is built in. So the alternator is there, so it's going to charge the battery because I have no external 8 battery on this car. So I want to make sure that the battery is being charged, and therefore I'm going to use a voltmeter to check that the voltage is good on the battery, and when the engine is running that we have at least 14.4 volts. So then I know it is charging, because what I don't want to have happening is that I run out of juice on the track. So let's see how much voltage we have. Now the car is not running, The battery is sitting now at 12.71 volts, which is good. So that means the battery is reasonably charged. So let me crank it up and see what happens with it. So as you can see, the engine is now we're running on idle, and we only got 14.3 volts, which is good. So I'm quite happy with that. So let's see what the instrument cluster is saying. We should be good. So we got 62 degrees centigrade. This dial is going up as well, so that's looking good. I have no oil warning. Oil pressure is good. So I think we should be all right. I modified the stick shift a bit, so I put some guidance bars in here because shifting with a motorbike engine is quite different than with an H gearbox. If you want to put it in first gear, you push it forward and then you bring it back to the middle. And then if you want to get to second gear, you pull it back and go back to the middle position. Third gear, pull it back again, back to the middle position. So you need to go always back to the center position. And before this bracket was on, this was really loose. So now it's pretty solid, I would say. So that is working quite well. And of course you want to, make sure that the fire extinguisher is strapped in properly and working as it should and is still in the green. So all that looks good, because you never know. Checking the seat belts, that they're in a good condition, and I have verified this already before. I had to tape up the seat a little bit because I couldn't fit anymore. I guess I must have gained a bit too much weight, because it's a very small seat, by the way. And on the track you need to watch around you, so I adjusted the mirrors. And let's see if we can still lock in the steering wheel. Yep, that is locked properly. Yeah, that's good. And you want to make sure that all the wheel nuts are on to torque. Hopefully I don't have to disappoint you guys, because if it's going to rain, I'm not going to drive on the track, because I only have slicks on this car. Actually, I've been lying to you guys a little bit. I do have rain tires, especially for the back, but not for the front. The front tires that you see here, these are the smaller ones, are not really rain tires. Yeah, I don't think it's a good combination, the two together anyway. So I'm not going to put those up any rims, although I do have some rims laying around. I'd rather take some spare slicks with me than actually the rain tires, because I'm not too keen in driving in the rain or a wet racetrack. It really takes another kind of discipline in driving, and I'm afraid I don't have that discipline. Now, running with the right tire pressure is very important, and of course while you drive on the track your tires will heat up and then you get more pressure in it. So let's see what we've got on this guy here, and I want to make sure they all set the same. So it's about 1.5 kilograms, which is a bit too much. So I think I'm going to set it to about 1. And then we'll find out on the track after the first session what we need to do with it. So that's about right. So one of the things we're going to do after the first session is to check the temperature in these 3 zones here. And that's quite important. So for that one we're going to use a thermometer, and we should know exactly what the temperature is. Now right now, of course, it's fake because I'm not driving it, but it's already almost like 51 degrees, and that's just because the sun is on it. But this is the kind of tool you're going to need after the first session. And depending on what the measurements are on the 3 points in terms of temperature, you might have to do some readjustments on your alignment, as I explained in previous videos. Racing on a track is not without any risk. It doesn't always have to be your fault when you get into an accident. But you want to protect yourself as much as you can, and therefore you're going to need some protective gear. One of it is a fire-free coverall, and this is my coverall. And I just cleaned it up, by the way, because it was a little bit dirty. And normally they have kind of an approval on it from FIA, and it tells you how long that will last. So that's just a coverall, but besides that, there's a couple of other things you're going to need. And of course, you're going to need a good set of shoes to race together with fireproof socks. Now, I've been trying to race before with these heavy boots here. Now, that was not a good idea because I couldn't even fit on the pedals with it because it's too wide. So you need to have these kind of narrow shoes that give you a very good feel. And you can even see in the back here on the heel, it's also kind of a sole on it. So that is the kind of stuff you're going to need. I'm not making a commercial for this brand, but these are pretty good and not too expensive. And you have the fireproof baklava, which is going over your face really, inside your helmet, and your fireproof underwear if you're keen on that. It's not always mandatory, but if you go for competition racing, you have to have it, and you have to have the proper seals and approvals on it. Now, on a track day, typically you're not going to need this. Well, you probably now say, well, Steve, you're going a bit over the top here just for a track day. Well, to be honest, I'd rather be safe than sorry, and I always have my gear ready with me. To be very honest, I had to wash it all because it was a little bit sweaty and dirty from the last time I drove with the MGB GT. But besides that, I do recommend that you get this kind of stuff before you get on the track. But then again, it's entirely up to you. It's your life. And then we have the helmet. Now, I do like to race with a full face helmet with a visor on because that is going to protect me from stones that have been thrown up by the open wheels, because believe me, you're going to get dirt in your face. And I know some of my friends, they are using these classic retro helmets. I've even seen some without a visor. I would not do that. For me, that's a bit too risky. But this helmet is actually from a motorbike, but it's a very good quality helmet. And it is fireproof as well. And of course, you're going to need a couple of gloves to drive the car. So folks, we've come to the end of this video, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I know it was not very technical in this video, but you've seen on how I'm preparing for that track day, which is coming up on the 28th of August. And the next video, well, you will see me loading up the race car. You will see me arriving at the track, and you'll see my colleagues that are out there. And you will see me driving that car on the track and doing the shakedown on it. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.